How are you doing? Welcome to the Sunday vlog as promised, and I'm going to show you how I do my time lapse in this video. I know first of all that there's many ways of doing a time lapse, and there's many ways you can do it, i.e. editing and all that sort of stuff. But in this video I'm going to show you how I do it and what I use and what works for me. First of all, the first thing you will need is a tripod. I don't use this particular one out and about, only sometimes, because the one I usually use is a smaller one which the camera's on now. So I'll use this to demonstration purposes. Second thing is you want your camera. In my case it's a GoPro, and it's a basic model GoPro Hero. Now the GoPros have a time-lapse feature in it, but cut a long story short, it can be difficult. I can do it in my editor, you know, because some editors don't recognize you want to do a time lapse. So if you've got, say, 900 pictures and you want to bring them in together and make a video, if the editor doesn't recognize, you have to bring them in. Oh, and it's a nightmare and then they got to be sized properly. So I've done away with all that. All I do now, get my tripod, set it up where I want, get the shot, make sure the camera's fully charged, make sure you've got your tripod to GoPro mount, and if you want just a straightforward shot of a time lapse, you would just attach it to the camera, to the tripod, set it up and press record. Now I don't use the time-lapse feature, I just use the video feature where I press record and let it run for 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes the last time-lapse I did, you've seen, in Colwyn Bay Pier. If you want it longer you can have a better effect. If you put it for 30 minutes you can fast. All you do in a time-lapse with a video, bring it into it does make a bigger file, by the way. It does make the video file is bigger, but you can use it, you can do it on any video editor then, from the basic free ones up to the top end ones. Import the video, and all you do basically is right click on it or whatever, go to your settings in the video editor and speed it up. The one you've seen in Colwyn Bay was speeded up to 1,000 times. Now that was for a 15-minute time lapse. If I'd done it for 30 minutes I would speed it up to 1,500 to 2,000, and what that would do is give me a faster cloud movement and a more dramatic effect. It's good if you in dusk with car lights, or in a busy street where there's people. It's good. You can go into good detail with time lapsing, like I frame blend. If I'm using people or cars, I go into another editor I've got, which is Adobe Premiere Pro, quite an expensive one. I use it for technical editing when I do them, not often, but I'll put a time lapse in there and then I'll frame blend it. So what that does is cars or people will have a slight blur to them, and it gives it that more dramatic effect. Anyhow, going off the subject, going too detailed here. If you want a straightforward time lapse, tripod, camera, or if it's a GoPro, fully charged, got your card in it, it's clear, attach it to your tripod, place it where you want, press record and leave it run. But if you noticed in my last one, it had a time lapse but also the camera was moving. Well, that's down to this thing, and that is like an egg timer. It was very inexpensive. If you type in time lapse photography, it's a 360 rotation, and all it is, it's on a, see these marks, so you put the mark, say to 30 minutes, hear the ticking, and press record, and what that will do is it will take a shot and over half an hour it will slowly turn, and when it gets to, listen to this, when it gets to its place it will do this. Now you can get expensive ones and electronic ones, but that's good enough for me for what I want and for what I do. So what I do with that is, if I'm using that, I will attach this first. It has a tripod mount to the tripod like this. Bear with me. Like that. I would place then on top of that the camera. Should have done this first actually, if you can. There you go. And then make sure that's secure, make sure that's secure. Now the thing to do when you use one of these rotational things is, what I tend to do is, say I want a 30-minute time lapse, I'll move this to 30 minutes. Right, it goes up to an hour, this one. So I'll go to 30 minutes like that. Set it up where I want it to start. So say I want to start there. Press record, and then this then will slowly do that over half an hour, and then it'll stop. Stop record, take it home in the editor, speed it up 2000, colour correction, whatever you want to do, and then you get yourself a time lapse. That's how I do it, simple. As I say, using the video mode is, or does, make a larger file, especially with HD and all that sort of stuff. But it works in any editor that way. You can do it, you don't have to faff about with size in it and I think, because it'll film in the full widescreen and all that for you. That's the way I do it, but I don't do them often enough to justify. Come in. I don't do them often enough to justify expensive time-lapse equipment really. But, that's how I do it. So I hope that helps people. The main editors I use, believe it or not, is Movie Maker and Adobe Premiere Pro CC, which I it's quite expensive, but I buy it every year, if you know what I mean. And it's you can do anything in that, anything at all. If you're into filmmaking and you want different effects, and it's good. So everything comes apart. GoPro's ready for my next outing, and that is basically it. Yeah, how I do it. Deserve a drink now. Cheers. What else is there editing wise? I could talk for hours on editing or filming. No, nothing else that can come to mind. Also in this video I'm going to show you, as promised, I found a couple of videos, part 1 and 2, which were filmed, well, the interviews were filmed in 1995, 96, a year or the same year as the North Wales Hospital, the Denbigh Mental, closed. And it was held in the Denbigh Library, and they filmed sort of short interviews, people, the staff, nursing staff, engineers, painters, gardeners, talking about how the hospital ran, what they did, all sorts of stuff. Some of you may think, oh yeah, I've seen that, but I'll put in, if you go below this video, look in the description and you'll see 2 links, part 1, part 2, and it'll show you the hospital when it was open, the front. You'll see a nurse walking down the corridor, and just take note how smart the place was to what it is today, you know. And there was a lot of care, a lot of pride in the place. It wasn't a, people tend to think that the patients did nothing but were locked up in padded rooms and just sort of screamed and were given torturous treatment. Far from it, far from it. The patients, as part of their treatment, used to work themselves in the hospital, and they did things like, if they loved gardening, they would work in the gardens. If they loved farming, they would work on the farm when it was open. I think that the hospital farm closed or detached itself from the hospital in about 1955, I think, somewhere around there. But it was a self-sufficient place, you know, made their own, they had their own meat, veg, milk, eggs, engineers, painters, decorators, plasterers, cooks, cleaners, electricians, plumbers, anything. They had engineering department, and as I say, as part of the treatment of the patients, they worked in the bits they enjoyed, and they earned a wage at one point, cash, and then it changed to tallies or something. But yeah, very interesting if you're interested. So thanks for watching. Hope the video helped with the time lapse and stuff like that, and I'll see you, good people, in the next video. Take care.